Topic is on relationships and recovery. Please help me welcome Randy.
Hey everybody, I'm an addict. My name is Randy. Hey Randy. I'm clean today through God's grace in this program called Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I'm looking around this room and I see a lot of people that I have a relationship with. When I first got asked, because I had agreed to do this months and months and months ago, and when he called me up and he told me the topic, my first thought was, fuck no, The reality is I didn't want to come in here and tell you guys that I went through a breakup about 5 months ago and I sat in my house depressed for the whole time. I didn't want to come in here and tell anybody that I had to go see somebody and get on some medication. See, our literature says that we went to medicine, religion, and psychiatry, and none of these methods were sufficient for us, but it doesn't say that it doesn't work. So I had to go to outside sources in order to get things. So what I'm saying is I didn't want to come in here and tell you guys that with years clean, I was in the place where I was when I was getting high. That I was sitting in my house. I didn't want to use, but I really didn't want to live either. See, that's the thing, is that Narcotics Anonymous teaches me how to get through the things that I don't think I could get through. See, here's the thing, is that when I when I started thinking more about relationships, I started to really start to reflect, and I started to figure out that I didn't know what a healthy relationship was before I got to Narcotics Anonymous. See, I come from a family where I was taken away from my mother when I was real young. I had a father that always dated women with families, and he took care of them and didn't take care of me. So when I got to Narcotics Anonymous, I had a whole bunch of abandonment issues and feelings of inadequacy, that when I had that breakup, those feelings came rushing back, and I sat there in my house going, what am I going to do? See, the thing is that the exact nature is what caused me to use my entire life. See, when it comes to relationships and recovery, see, when I got to Narcotics Anonymous, I don't know about anybody else in here, but I couldn't trust a damn thing anybody said. And the real reason was because I couldn't trust anything coming out of my own mouth. See, here's the thing, is that I didn't know how to be a friend. I didn't know how to be a productive member of society. I didn't know how to live by societal norms. I didn't know how to do any of those things. See, I've been living at an animalistic level for so long that I really didn't know how to act like a human being. I was so survival skilled up that, I remember coming into Narcotics Anonymous and I didn't even know how to tell the truth. The first honest thing I said in decades is my name's Randy and I'm an addict. And I really didn't believe any of that. See, I came here because my life was so unmanageable that I'd rather die than continue to keep using. I don't know about anybody else in here, but I had a pocket full of drugs, and I was crying because I just couldn't stop. And I came to Narcotics Anonymous, and I had never heard about Narcotics Anonymous. A bunch of people come in here, and they're like, I've been coming to Narcotics Anonymous for a long time, in and out, in and out. My story is, if you weren't around anymore, you were either dead or in jail. And that's what it was. So when I got to Narcotics Anonymous, I didn't understand that people were recovering from the disease of addiction. I didn't really even understand what the disease of addiction was. I came here to stop shooting dope and smoking coke. That was it. You could keep all that other stuff, and I come here, and I hear our message. Any addict can stop using, lose desire to use, and find a new way to live. And I knew I needed to stop using, because when I use, my life is in turmoil. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to stay stopped, and I really, really damn sure didn't want a new way to live. See, here's the thing, is that when I got here, I didn't think that everything was so bad. I thought the problem was the drug, and if I put the drug down, everything would be okay. See, here's the thing, is that I really didn't understand that I had been a loner for so long that when I came in here and you guys tried to hug me, I immediately went on defense. This guy, I remember walking into my first meeting and this guy grabbed me and he hugged me and I'm real uncomfortable. And he whispered in my ear, he said, you never have to use again. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Never have to use again. It was like a foreign concept to me, never have to use again. Never have to use again. And I remember showing back up because I felt unlovable when I got here, and I remember going back to that meeting and people remembered my name. People were like happy to see me. Like nobody was happy to see me. Like I was the guy that you walked across the street if you saw me. But I come to Narcotics Anonymous and people are happy to see me. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea what a sponsor was. And you guys were relentless. You guys kept saying shit like, you get a sponsor yet? I didn't want a sponsor. I just wanted to stop using drugs. I just didn't want to keep feeling the pain that I was feeling. So I kept showing up because I knew if I didn't continue to keep coming here, I knew I was going back to old people, places, and things. See, that's the thing is when I got here, they said, stay away from people, places, and things. And that's why I never heard of Narcotics Anonymous, because I was one of those people. I was in those places. I was doing those things. And I had gone back to the same thing time and time and time again, thinking that shit was going to be different. Because I always thought, I got it figured out. I know where I went wrong. I know where I went wrong. If I put a spin on it, I can make it work. And the reality was it just continued to keep me in pain and continued to bring me down the same places over and over and over again. So I remember coming in and I used to say real off-the-wall crazy shit.
Still do.
Because I wanted somebody in here to be like, yo, get the fuck out of here. This is not going to work for you. Because the reality was is that I wasn't sure if I could stay clean. I really didn't want to get to know anybody in here. But I really didn't want to go back out there. So I wanted to be able to say, listen, I went to Narcotics Anonymous and them people told me to get the fuck out of here. It's their fault. That's why I went back. They told me to leave. But all they kept saying was, keep coming back. I'm like, keep coming back? Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Like, keep coming back? Like, you guys were saying crazy ass shit and I just didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand the language. You guys were all smiling. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I thought people used on Tuesday and Saturday, and they were just making that shit work, because that's really why I came here. I wanted to figure out how to make it work. But the reality is that I could tell after coming a couple times that you guys were staying clean, that you guys had like driver's licenses and jobs and all that kind of stuff. Like all this stuff that I couldn't attain because I couldn't stop getting high. You guys had all of these things. So I remember you guys kept asking me if I had a sponsor, and I went and got one just to shut you fucking people up. So I asked this guy to sponsor me, and the reality is that my relationship with my sponsor was probably the first healthy relationship I ever was in. I remember feeding this guy little bits, because I was waiting for him to tell somebody, or I was waiting for him to fuck me over, and then I could just leave that, I continued to keep showing up because I wanted to feel a part of. I hadn't felt a part of for decades, and so I continued to keep going, and I continued to keep building this relationship with this man. And I embark on the step working process. But the reality is that the best relationship I got in early recovery was a relationship with the literature. He introduced me to the basic text. He said, read Who's an Addict? Read What's Narcotics Anonymous? Read Why Are We Here? And I remember reading these things and being like, damn, they wrote this shit just for me. See, again, I told you I couldn't believe the shit you people were talking about, but I could believe it. It was in black and white. It was talking about me. They knew exactly how I felt. By addicts, for addicts, and so I bought in. You know what I mean? I was clean and crazy at first. I used sex as a form of intimacy. I slept around Narcotics Anonymous because that's all I knew how to do. I felt this big. And I thought having sex was going to make me feel better. Never did. So I embark on this step working process, and I start to really get in tune with who I am. See, here's the thing is that I built this relationship with this sponsor, and he tells me that we're going to work on the steps, and he tells me that the solution's in the steps, and I had brought in just enough that I was willing to do some of the steps. But here's the thing is that when I got here, My daughter had died from SIDS about 9 months before I came to Narcotics Anonymous. And I was broken. I wanted nothing to do with God. I wanted nothing to do with your higher power. I wanted nothing to do with any of that shit. So the minute you guys said those words, I wanted to spit on the ground and walk out the door. You know, and the step working process allowed me to start to get in tune with these things. See, here's the thing is that I was given little bits of information slowly over a period of time so that I could really get an understanding of who I was and who God was to me. See, I remember when I got to the third step and you're supposed to be forming this relationship with God, I had no idea what you people were talking about because you guys had a God, and the people that had a God were peaceful. The people that had a God had good lives. So I remember coming in here and saying that I had a God, but I had no idea who God was to me. You know, and I just wanted to fit in, you know, and that's a story throughout my whole life. I just wanted to fit in. I would turn into whoever the hell you wanted me to be in order to be your friend, in order to be somebody that you wanted around, you know, and so I get to the third step, and when I got to the third step, I was just willing to continue on with this program, you know. In the third step, it says, the only thing that's necessary, whatever. So long story short, I'm out of it. The only thing required of us is willingness. So at the end of the day, man, so I start to build this relationship. I get through the third step. I start learning about honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. I embark on the fourth step, and I remember being like, you must be out of your fucking mind. So I'm in here. You guys are telling me that I got to write down the worst things that I've ever done. And so I'm sitting here and I'm writing down all these things, and I'm getting to look at the patterns, and I'm getting to learn who I am, and I'm getting to learn why I do the things that I do, and I'm getting to learn all these things that have been holding me back my whole life. Resentment through people that I thought I loved, resentment through people that I thought loved me. I'm starting to look at sex. I'm starting to look at relationships. I'm starting to look at all these things that I continue time and time and time again to self-sabotage and self-destruct every time it started to get good. Every time it started to get real, I ran away. I would go to a different state. It wasn't like I just ran away, I just go to somebody. Like, I would move states. Like, by the time I got to Narcotics Anonymous, I had lived in 11 states. I was quick to just run away. So I had no idea how to do these things. And I get to Narcotics Anonymous, and I start doing the fourth step, and I embark on the fifth step, and I sit down with a sponsor, and I start to tell him things that I had never told anybody else in my life. See, that's when I started to learn what intimacy was. See, that's where I learned how to have an intimate relationship with somebody else. See, I sat there and I told him these things, and he said, me too. You know, I sat there and I told him these things, and he had compassion, he had empathy. He looked at me with those eyes. I said, I get it, you know, and that was really the transition in my life that allowed me to sit there and go, man, I can actually trust some other people. And as I'm sitting here and I'm getting intimate with this other man and I'm telling him these things, something went off in my mind and said, all these fucked up things you've done and all these fucked up places you put yourself, God still decided to save you. See, that's when that light bulb went off. And that's really where I started to get a relationship with God. See, when I got here, people started telling me that you're either going to get with God now or you're going to get with God later. But sooner or later, you're going to have to get with God. I was like, I'm not trying to hear any of that shit. You can keep all that shit. See, here's the thing is that I wanted nothing to do with the spiritual principles, none of this stuff. I came here to stop using drugs. That was it. I didn't come here to get relationships. I didn't come here to get friends. I came here to just stop. Thank God that's not all I got. See, here's the thing is that the third tradition told me that I wasn't going to get kicked out of here by saying that crazy off-the-wall shit, and it told me that I continue to keep coming in and out the way I wanted to. But here's the thing is that what I've learned since I've been here is that in order to stay here, in order to build some relationships, in order to find out who you are, in order to find God, a lot more is required. So I continue to do the things that are required of me when I first got here now, because guess what? I still struggle in this area. See, it doesn't come natural to me to be kind to other people. I don't know if anybody else in here, it comes naturally. Like, being honest is hard for me some days. Telling you the truth is hard for me some days. Coming in here and putting my trust in God is hard for me some days. But here's the thing, is that the relationships that I have built throughout this process have allowed me to have people that I could have for support, that I could go to and tell them when I'm struggling, and they tell me shit like, you're doing much better than you think you are. See, here's the thing, is that I came to Narcotics Anonymous, and in my area there's a lot of meetings, but I don't know about around here, but the more you go to meetings, the more you're like, man, fuck these people, I don't want to see them anymore. They talk about the same thing over and over and over again. See, it's real easy to get complacent. It's real easy for me to start to take other people's inventory. See, the thing is that I would have to get in a car and I would drive to different areas so that I could build relationships with other people. See, I get in the car and I drive. Like, I could go to a meeting anywhere in the state of New Jersey, and I'm probably going to know somebody in the meeting. I go to different states, and normally I know somebody in the meeting. As a matter of fact, I go to different countries. I got my 7-year medallion in Italy, and guess what? I ended up knowing somebody in the meeting. See, that's the whole thing. This is a worldwide fellowship. The relationships that we build can last forever, or they can just last for a season. See, that's what I really figured out by that breakup, is that not all relationships are meant to last. It wasn't a failure. I wasn't going to be alone for the rest of my life. I wasn't abandoned. The relationship just ended. See, that's the whole thing, is like my whole life, I thought that I had to make you hate me. Like, in order to break up with somebody, in order to have a relationship end, you had to hate me. I had to do something so bad that you never wanted to talk to me again. And it could be friends, it could be romantic. As a matter of fact, my whole family didn't want anything to do with me for a decade. See, that's the whole thing, is that I would blow things up to the point that there was no return. So I came in here and then I started to read the literature. I'm going to read something. It says, when we sense connection based on our shared disease and shared recovery, the ways in which we differ from one another become enriching rather than limiting. As we meet more people, attend conventions and events out of town, and connect with other members in service or online, our circle in NA grows. And we find people who share our experience, but more surprisingly, we find people who share our feelings, and even our sense of connection and disconnection, where we might never have thought to look for them. When we share our experience honestly, we give others the opportunity to relate to us and connect with us in spite of surface differences. See, that's the whole thing. When I got here, I couldn't see past surface differences. I didn't understand, like, diversity is our strength. I didn't understand that we needed unity in Narcotics Anonymous. See, I come from a place where if you were getting something, that mean I didn't. It was me against everybody else. And then I came to Narcotics Anonymous and I found that I can't recover without you people. Without building relationships in this process, I'd be back out there using. See, here's the thing, is that if I didn't feel a part of and I didn't feel like I belonged here, why the fuck would I keep coming? See, that's the thing, is that I've thought about not going to meetings. I've done some things in this process. I've thought about it, but all my friends are here. And that's what it comes down to. What the fuck am I going to do? All my friends are here. See, Narcotics Anonymous is like the land of misfit toys. We just make each other work. And that's really what it comes down to. So this process and learning to how to have relationships with people, listen, it's not easy, you know, and I've been able to accomplish some things throughout this process. You know, I went back to school, you know, and you know, my recovery and my relationships kind of mirror what was going on in my life. You know what I mean? Like when I was new in recovery, I went back to school and I ended up getting an associate's degree. You know, and the whole time I was there, I felt like I didn't belong. I felt inadequate. I wouldn't talk up. You know, I was a loner. I didn't talk to other people, you know, and When I graduated and somebody said, like, why don't you keep going? I said, all right. So I went back to school and I got a bachelor's degree. You know, and when I was there for my bachelor's degree, I was at a point in my recovery where I was real self-righteous. I knew everything. I was smarter than everybody in the room. People hated me. And it was the same way in recovery. Like, people would say something wrong and I'd pick up the basic text and try to hit them with it. It was one of those things, like you said something wrong like I did earlier, and I would have just went on you. Or if you said something like sober, my head would explode. And then I graduated with a bachelor's degree, and I graduated summa cum laude with a bachelor's degree. And then I went and I got a master's degree. And when I was in school for my master's degree, it was different. I helped the people that were around me. I tried to explain things in a way that other people could understand. See, that's the whole thing, is that when I first got here, I didn't think I deserved relationships. When I was in the middle of my recovery, I thought I was too good for most of the relationships. And now when I got to the point when I kept going, today I cherish my relationships. See, here's the thing, is that we come in here, we help each other stay clean. We help each other to see the things that we don't see. We help each other to learn how to live in this process. See, that's the whole thing, is I didn't know how to live when I got here. I had no idea how to be a friend. Every relationship that I knew was transactional. What are you going to do for me? And I come in here, and through the step working process, I start learning things like selfless service. I start understanding that the best thing I've ever done for myself is help somebody else. See, that's the whole thing, is that Narcotics Anonymous transforms us into people that I don't even know. You know what I mean? I used to say shit like, I'm the craziest person in this room, I'm the sickest person in this room. If I'm still the sickest person in this room, why the fuck are you going to keep coming here? I'm still sick. That's why I continue to keep doing step work. That's why I continue to keep showing up. That's why I continue to keep calling my sponsor. That's why I continue to keep using my network. That's why I continue to keep building relationships all over the map. That's why I get in the car and go. That's why I'm visible and available. That's why I sponsor men. That's why I do all these things. Want to know why? Because left to my own devices, I will fuck this shit up too. See, here's the thing, is that I'm very, very, very good at fucking my life up. Clean. Very good at fucking my life up clean. See, that's the whole thing, is that this process allows me to see myself coming. It allows me to stop and act on spiritual principles in the moment. It allows me to build that relationship with myself, that when I go to bed and I put my pillow my head on the pillow, I like the person, I don't got those thoughts, and I want to wake up in the morning. Because here's the thing, is that this process and belief in God and learning spiritual principles put me with a higher power that ends up allowing me to be spiritually refreshed. And when I'm spiritually refreshed, I'm glad to be alive. When I am not spiritually refreshed, I'm really not glad to be alive. See, here's the thing, is that I still get in my head and go into those depressive moments. I still walk into rooms and feel like I don't deserve to be there. I still look in the mirror and don't like the person looking back. But here's the thing, is that sometimes I just got to tell my disease to shut the fuck up. See, that's what it comes down to, is that my disease is cunning, baffling, and insidious. And what that means is that it's going to come at me in any way possible, ways that I didn't even imagine. See, here's the thing, is that a lot of people will be like, it's not about it. It's always going to be about the drugs for me. It's always going to be about the drugs for me. Is it a good option? No, but it's always an option. See, here's the thing, is that my disease will tell me shit like, you don't need to come here. My disease will tell me you don't need anybody else. My disease will tell me some off the wall shit like, you got this. You got this. And what I found out is when I think I got this, I'm already fucked. And that's really what it comes down to. But here's the thing, is that when my disease starts telling me these things and brings me to a place where my defects of character and that self-righteousness and that overt confidence has me in a place where I think I know some shit, I got my sponsor and my network around me to say, bro, what the fuck are you doing? I don't know about anybody else. I got some great ideas sometimes. Great ideas. I remember I'm talking to my one boy. I said, listen, I got this idea. He said, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. And that's what I need is I need the people to keep me in check because, again, without these relationships, without people telling me what to do on any different day, you know, I will cause myself pain and misery. See, here's the thing is that the drugs have morphed into so many different things throughout this process. This disease of addiction is like, it has tentacles all throughout. And when I deal with one thing, the next thing pops up. And when I deal with the next thing, something else comes back. These things are only arrested for today. Just for today. And that's what it comes down to. When it comes down to having relationships, the best thing I've gotten out of this process, they keep me safe from me. And that's what it comes down to. We cannot recover by ourselves. We cannot do this by ourselves. So, Narcotics Anonymous is that place that you can come to and you can be unlovable and be loved. It's that place that you can come to and feel inadequate and feel like you don't deserve anything and get that loving hug. And for this addict, that loving hug really made all the difference. I didn't want it. I felt uncomfortable with it. The reality was it put me into an emotional crisis. But it's what I needed. I felt like a human being. So, just from emulating the people in this process, I've learned how to be a son. My mother didn't talk to me for a decade. I talked to her every morning on my way to work. My 96-year-old grandmother, who I would go and I would see her only when I needed money. Like I'd go up and I'd see her, and every minute I'm looking at the clock, just trying to get out of there with the 20 she was going to give me. I go and see her regularly. She's on hospice right now, but she's happy to see me. Like she doesn't have to hide her things. She tells me things like, "I'm so proud of you." Like before I got into recovery, nobody told me they were proud of me since I hit a home run when I was like 13. But I come into recovery and I start to become a better person. I start to become a person that people are proud to be around. I start to be a person that can show up for other people. I start to learn who the fuck I am in recovery. See, here's the thing is that for recovery for me wasn't getting back what was lost. It was getting back what was lost and making it better. See, that's the whole thing is so many people are like, I just want my old life back. I just want my old relationships back. All that shit had me using. All that had me using. I have to get better with these things in order to not go backwards. And for me, it's continuing to move forward. See, that's the whole thing is that I am so blessed today that I have so many friends in our, as a matter of fact, today I have friends in recovery that I could hijack their vacations. Like my friend was like, we're going to London in August, you should come. Sold. Let's get it. And I called my sponsee brother out in London, and he said I would be honored to pick you up from the airport and show you around my country. And the next thing he said is, would you be willing to speak at a couple meetings? It is an honor and a privilege to serve Narcotics Anonymous. It is an honor and a privilege to be invited anywhere. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to look in the mirror and not hate that person looking back at you. It is an honor and a privilege to show up for my friends today. See, the relationships forged throughout the recovery process are everlasting. They allow us to be the person we truly are, with that true humility to be our authentic self that we thought nobody would like if we let them know who the fuck we were. Today I don't have to put on a mask. Today I show up as Randy. Today I can tell you what music I like, what music I don't like. Today I don't have to laugh at your corny ass jokes to get a crumb.
That's funny.
Today, just for today, I'm clean. So Listen, man, if nobody told you they love you today, you're hanging around with the wrong people. If you don't love yourself today, do some step work. See, here's the thing is that, I'm not going to come in here and try to tell people what to do. Our literature actually says when we try to give advice, we lose respect to the newcomers. But here's the thing I will tell you. If I didn't come in here and get a sponsor, and if I didn't work some steps, and if I didn't build some relationships, and if I didn't pick up the phone, I would have shortchanged myself. That's right. And that's really what it all comes down to. So hopefully something I said today resonated with you and made some sense. Thank you for allowing me to share.